everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing great. I wanted to say a quick thank you to the CodeConf organizers for putting on such an amazing event and inviting me to speak with all of you. The venue is amazing. It's really, really great. So I'm here to talk about the heart of NPM. That's my talk. And so let's get started here. First of all, let's hope that this works. Network. Aha, there we go. Okay, so let's start with who am I? Why are you here listening to me? My name is Stephanie Snopek. Like Chris mentioned, I do support at NPM. So, I'm really interested in technology, excited to be in Silicon Valley, San Francisco environment. I have been doing support for about 7 years, and I'm Canadian, just a fun fact. I'm also really, really a huge fan of ice cream, so if anybody has any tips on where the best ice cream in LA is, I'd love to hear that. So I realize that not everyone may not know what NPM is. So NPM, first of all, we're a team of wombats. It's our mascot. It's a really great little creature from Australia. I'm not entirely sure how we got to the wombat mascot, but it's kind of a nice representation of the team. We are really friendly, really approachable. I think we're pretty adorable. And although we may be bumbling at some points, we really have the best intentions. Side note, if anybody wants any of these wombat stickers, I have this collection in my bag, so let me know after the talk, and I'll be happy to supply some for you. But NPM is also a registry of code. It was started as this public open source project for people, primarily Node.js developers, JavaScript developers, to upload and share their modules. So right now we have about 300,000 modules in the registry. Really, really interesting, big number there. The CLI is also a big part of NPM. And it's the tool that enables people to actually install and publish their own modules to this open source registry. And it's really great, really great tool. And it's also a website. NPM we have a great website where our users can go and take a look at what modules exist. You can see how many people are using them. You can see how many people contribute to them. You can get linked to their GitHub account, their profiles, and even contribute. You can reach out to them and find out how you can help contribute to their modules. And a fun fact is that NPM doesn't actually stand for anything. It's commonly referred to as the Node Package Manager, but it doesn't stand for that. So we have a bunch of extensions that people contribute to. If you think of something funny, something funny that NPM might mean, we'll probably enjoy it, and you can actually contribute your own suggestion for what NPM stands for. Nasal pathway melodrama, pretty hilarious. And so my job is to help users with all of these tools. So anybody who has questions about the CLI or has questions about the registry, have noticed bugs on the website potentially, or in general, they're interacting with all of these different pieces of NPM and they need assistance, that's where I come in. It's okay. It's a lot of stuff. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. It's a lot to learn, but it's totally fine. So we're going to get into some more of the interesting big numbers. At a startup, we're all kind of trained, we're conditioned to really enjoy graphs that go up and to the right? It probably means something really good. So let's take a look at some numbers related to NPM. We estimate about 4 million developers, and thousands of companies are using NPM based on who's hitting the registry, who's checking out the website. And that's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. Looking at downloads, how many people are downloading these modules? We're hitting a billion downloads a week nowadays. That's a lot of downloads. And so taking a look at that graph over time, I joined, you can see I joined the company in 2015, about when we were hitting 200 million downloads a week, and now we're hitting 1 billion downloads a week. That's huge. Really exciting. Clicker. This is happening. It's totally cool. Haha. Okay, so those are all great things to know about NPM. It's a really amazing tool. But at the end of the day, these numbers are a representation of human interaction with what we're building, what we're creating. So my job is to remember that, yes, NPM is an amazing tool for developers, and we offer a lot of amazing services to people like you. But at the end of the day, a lot of people need help using them, and I have to remember the humanity behind that. So what does that look like? My job is really connected to tickets and tweets. So we deal with about 600-ish tickets a month, spread out between me and my colleagues. I have 2 amazing support colleagues, so we each take our portion of that. We don't get too many tweets to the NPM support handle, but it's definitely there, and we are always there to help you if you have quick questions or you notice something's going on. And issue tracker, so this is something that we're trying to dive into a bit more. It's kind of intimidating though, because right now we have 852 open support issues. Those are the ones tagged as support, those are the ones we're trying to deal with, and that's from the last couple years. So if anybody has suggestions or tips for how to deal with an issue tracker of this magnitude, please tell me. I would love to hear your tips. Help me help you, right? And then there's other support. So yes, my full-time job is to deal with tickets primarily, and whatever tweets go out there. But we have other people in the team, in the company, that also contribute to supporting users in a variety of ways. So for example, the CLI team has been doing this thing where they invite users to come to their meetings where they talk about what's going on with the CLI, what's coming up next, what are the issues that they're focusing on, and you can voice your questions or your concerns. So that's really great. We also have some pretty extensive documentation on how to use all of this, and how to use the CLI and where to go next if you have a goal. The documentation there's a lot of it, and it's primarily the responsibility of one of my colleagues, Ashley. She does a great job of it, but because there's so much that gets updated and changes over time, she's actually created this great initiative where if you are reading the documentation and you know that something is wrong or it needs to be tweaked, there's something that needs editing, she has encouraged people to submit PRs, socks for docs. So if you submit a change to the docs and it gets accepted, we will send you socks. Really cool Wombat socks, okay? So I encourage you to check it out. It's a really great way to get involved with contributing to this giant open source project. But I think at the end of the day, that's what makes NPM so unique. The fact that everybody on the team is so committed to supporting users. I forgot to mention, engineering calls for people who are really struggling with something, primarily for our paid customers, getting them up and running. And then, of course, the status page, which is maintained primarily by the registry team. So if there's any outage in service or something going on that people need to know about, they're responsible for that. And that's what makes NPM so unique. In my experience, it is such an incredible thing to know that the whole company wants to support users in such an important way, and they all have their different avenues for doing that. The other thing that's really great is that the folks at NPM, the folks that have been my colleagues for about a year, are really intentional about their communication. And that's really, I think that's really special. That's a great thing we're going to explore a bit more. Because what is communication? I'm a communication nerd. I do that. That's my full-time job, right? I communicate with people. But what that means is it's the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. Ideas are great. Feelings are also part of our world. We have to convey them both. And it's also a way to connect with people. So when you're thinking about supporting your open source users, you're really trying to connect the dots with these ideas and feelings you're having about whatever's going on, and they're having these same ideas and feelings potentially. You want to build a bridge between you two and connect with them. That's the goal of communication. It's very simple definitions, but I really enjoy kind of getting back to the foundation of that. And that's what support is, right? Like I said, it is communication. And for me, it's primarily written. Like I said, tickets, writing them out a lot. A lot of times, though, there's a visual and symbolic communication that goes on. For example, emoji, right? If you're not sure that your words are really hitting the mark, you can use emoji to represent the intent behind what you are saying. And it's very easy for us to kind of dismiss this communication thing as a soft skill. It's super easy, right? Everybody can communicate. It's really easy, right? No, it's not that easy. It takes a lot of effort sometimes to get your points across in a really meaningful and useful way. So, soft skills, whatever. So let's talk about some of the strategies that we use at NPM to kind of streamline this communication, right? We really care about helping users be successful in using the tools that we're creating. So one of these things that a lot of people are talking about these days is empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in your user's shoes. So when somebody comes to you with an issue, taking the moment to say, oh, wow, they've mentioned this issue. Where are they coming from? Like, why are they feeling this way? What has created the environment where they're responding to me in such a way? It empowers you to connect with them a lot better if you can try and identify with them rather than kind of look at them from above and be like, oh yeah, that's something going on. No, try and put yourself in their shoes. It's something that requires a lot of practice. It's not an easy thing. A lot of us have had challenges with empathizing, and that's okay. It's something that has to be practiced. And when I say flex your empathy, it's like a muscle, just like any other muscle, right? You have to actually use it to make it stronger. So anyone can get better at empathy, and that's really important. And when in doubt, use emoji, right? If you feel like that communication isn't really getting to the point, throw some emojis in there. At least you'll probably lighten the mood. What can go wrong with emoji? Maybe we won't talk about that. So another strategy when you're communicating with users, and let's say you're interacting with somebody who's really upset, right? You have a user who's talking to you on your issue tracker, trying to use what you've built. They're really mad. And they're saying a bunch of mean things or rude things, and it's kind of getting your ire up. You're like, I actually built something amazing, and you're not using it properly. What's your problem, right? It's easy to jump to that conclusion. But just don't take it personally. Yes, you are all amazing people. I'm sure you are making amazing tools. You're contributing greatly to the technology industry. I have no doubt that you're doing a great job in many ways. But for most people in the world, they don't know you. They don't know what you're working on, and they don't know what you care about. For most people, you're just the name associated with whatever you built, right? Unless you have a really great personal connection with most of your users. I mean, looking at NPM, I can't connect to 4 million people. That's impossible. So I do the best that I can with the interactions that we do get. And so not taking it personally and being able to look past that, like the issue's not about you, it's something about what they're using, and you have the solution. So, take a moment, breathe, and then continue to tackle it. This is okay. It's totally fine. So yeah, is everybody enjoying LA? It's pretty warm out there. It's really great. Internet, right? We love it. Aha! Okay. Perfect. So another strategy I would suggest is getting more comfortable with the idea of conflict, right? We live in a world full of 7 billion other people, more than 7 billion, a lot of other people. Conflict is inevitable. It's something that I think many of us have had challenges with growing up as well, and just in our own lives and backgrounds. We are often conflict avoidant. We don't like to go towards conflict. We're like, oh, somebody's fighting, somebody's angry at us. We're gonna just walk over here, run away. Okay, bye. And that doesn't really help anything. It's really important to kind of become a little bit more comfortable with the idea of conflict, and especially if you're in a position of mediating an issue. Let's say two users are having this really, really challenging interaction, and you're supposed to be the mediator because you're in charge for some reason and you have to deal with it. It's okay. I mean, you can let them talk about it. That's fine. You don't have to get in there and tell people to calm down. Don't tell people to calm down. Have you ever calmed down because somebody's told you to calm down? I've not. Nobody likes hearing that, and it doesn't really help. So if you are mediating conflict in some way, you don't really have to go into the nitty-gritty of why people are feeling a certain way. You can just validate and say, hey, this is a really frustrating situation. I hear ya. I see this. Okay, let's get to the solution. Let's do that. Don't poke the bear. Just avoid it. Another strategy that you might consider is, again, you're all really smart people. You all have really great talents. You are working on amazing things, but you don't know everything, right? And even if you do think you know exactly what's going on, it's okay to ask questions. Sometimes it's such an important step we overlook because we think we have the answer already. But from a support perspective, even though it's easy to jump in with a solution, it's sometimes extremely frustrating. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I know I have. When you reach out to somebody and you're like, I have this issue, what's going on? I don't get it, help me. And they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what's happening. Here's the solution, here's a bunch of information, done, right? And it's the complete wrong solution for you. It's not really what you were struggling with. So if there's any ambiguity, or you really just want to make sure you're clear, that you understand what's happening, ask questions. It's best not to assume you know everything. Carrying on, support can be really challenging. Like this whole communication thing, it's so energy intensive. And to be able to take the step back and say, oh, I have to identify with you, oh, and then I have to not take what you said personally, oh, and there's conflict, so I gotta deal with that responsibly, oh, okay, and then all of these things take a lot of energy. And I enjoy it. That's why I work in support. It's really fun to be able to solve problems with people. But in open source, especially if you're not getting paid for it, you got to recognize when you need a break, when you need to take a moment to slow down. If you notice you're hungry, take a break, get a snack, get some water. If you're feeling angry about an issue, you don't have to respond in a moment of anger. It's okay. Get to know really how you're doing. Recognize when you're feeling like things are going to explode, you're not going to do well with something. And it doesn't mean you have to ignore an issue. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is all you have to do sometimes is reach out to a user and say, hey, I hear ya. I see that there's an issue happening. Give me a little bit, I'll investigate and get back to you ASAP. Because most people just want to know that they're heard. They want to know that you're validating the fact that they are having an issue, and it's your responsibility to help them. If you're having a rough day, take a break, take a moment, and respond to them when you're feeling a bit better. Okay, so this one's a bit harder because apologies are, they're rough sometimes, but I would really recommend you get a bit more practice in apologizing when things go wrong, and if you are responsible for that. I know it's really hard sometimes because, especially in the tech industry, there's so much hinging on this idea of being right. Like, you want to make the right decision for your product. You want to make the right decision for your team. You want to make the right decision that helps your company grow, or your tools, your open source project grow. But sometimes shit hits the fan, right? That's just the honest truth. And one of the things that I learned in support, is you can't sugarcoat everything. I'm a really positive person. I like to sugarcoat things sometimes. Like, oh yeah, that sure is unfortunate. It's kind of irritating, right? No, sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes things just are not working well. And if you're playing a role in that, it's really important to recognize that sometimes you just have to say, I'm sorry. I realize that I made a mistake. I understand that this is it's impacting you really negatively, and I'm going to do better next time. But you can't have any expectation at the end of the day. You can't expect that your apology will make everything better, because it won't necessarily. It's a really nice step to take, but it doesn't solve everything. So don't have any expectations, really. At the end of the day, what we're talking about here is communication, right? Communication is supposed to lead to a connection of some sort, right? Like, you are connecting with your users, you're connecting with your team, and when people feel that really great sense that you're listening, you're validating them, you want to help them out, you're committed to doing better, that connection multiplied over time leads to a community, a sense of community, that you can talk with people and they will be there to help you. And I think this is really important, especially as our communities are growing and changing. We have to recognize that our communication has to change and adapt as well. We have to listen to especially people who are in marginalized groups, people who feel like outsiders. If people are coming to you and they say, look, I want to join, but I feel bad about this thing, like, can we change it? Change it. If at all possible, change it. And if you can't, then you should have a really good reason for not doing that. If you're not really the person primarily responsible for supporting your users, I would really encourage you to give your support team that love and recognition for the amazing job they're doing. Somebody has to do it, right? Somebody has to connect with the users. Somebody has to be there to solve the problems. If it's not you, somebody else is doing it. Give them that kudos, give them that recognition. Understand that their job is not as easy as you think, maybe if you think that way. It can be a real challenge. It's a ton of emotional labor, and it is enjoyable. There are a lot of rewards to it, but it is challenging. So give your support team what they need to do successfully, right? Give them the tools they need to address these issues, and yeah, just support your support team. At the end of the day, if you get anything from this, I hope it's that NPM loves you. We're a bunch of really cute, approachable wombats. If you have any questions about NPM, please let me know. I will be at the back of the room. You can ask for the stickers and ask questions about NPM. Other thing, if you're noticing your community is growing, your community of users is growing, really be mindful of the strategies that you're using to connect with them. And whenever you can, adapt your communication strategies. And at the end of the day, if that's not you, it's your support team. So give them the love they deserve. They're working hard for you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful time in LA.